Loneliness is not just about sitting in a quiet room with no one around. It's much deeper than silence. It's the kind of weight you feel pressing down on your chest when the phone doesn't ring, when the messages don't come through, and when nobody checks to see if you made it home safe. People think loneliness is just the absence of noise, but the truth is it's the absence of connection, the absence of love, the absence of somebody who cares enough to notice the little things about you. It's heavy, and if you've ever carried it, you know it can break you down piece by piece if you don't find a way to deal with it. A man with no friends may wake up every day with nothing but his thoughts echoing back at him. And let me tell you something, your thoughts can be your best company or your worst enemy. When you've got no one to share your joys with, your victories feel smaller. And when you've got no one to lean on during your struggles, your problems feel 10 times heavier. That's what loneliness does. It magnifies the hard parts of life and shrinks the good parts. It's like having a meal with no seasoning. You're fed, but you're not satisfied. Some people wear loneliness like a badge of honor, saying they don't need anybody. But deep down, when the day is done and they lay their head down on that pillow, the silence screams at them. It asks questions like, who really knows me? Who would notice if I was gone? Those questions cut deep because the answer can be terrifying. Loneliness is not about being physically alone. You can stand in the middle of a crowded room and still feel it. It's about not having that soul-level connection with somebody who truly gets you. The heaviness of loneliness also creeps into your health, your mindset, and your spirit. It can make you second-guess your worth. It can whisper lies that you're not good enough for real friendships, that you don't deserve love, that nobody wants you around. That's the weight I'm talking about. And if you let that weight sit too long on your shoulders, it'll bend you back until you can't even recognize yourself in the mirror anymore. But here's the truth. Loneliness is real, but it doesn't have to define you. The heaviness is real, but it doesn't have to crush you. Sometimes it's about taking the first step to reach out, to smile at someone, to spark a conversation, to put yourself in a place where friendship can grow. Because loneliness feeds off of isolation, and the only way to starve it is through connection. That's why I say loneliness isn't just silence, it's heavy. And the only way to lighten that load is to find a real friend, be a real friend, and allow yourself to be known. No matter how strong you think you are, no matter how much money you've got stacked up, no matter how many times you look in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm good on my own. At some point, life is going to remind you of the truth. We all need somebody. That's not weakness. That's being human. You weren't built to walk this earth alone. Even the strongest oak tree has roots connected deep into the soil, holding it steady when the storm comes. That's how people are supposed to be. We need roots. We need anchors. We need people who stand with us when life shakes us. You can try to do it all by yourself, but sooner or later you'll realize that success with nobody to share it with feels empty. Winning don't feel like winning when nobody is there to clap for you. Imagine working hard, reaching your goals, buying the house, driving the car, getting the promotion. And when you look around to celebrate, there's not a soul to high-five you. It's like throwing a party with no music. It just doesn't hit the same. We need people not just to survive, but to make life worth living. And let's flip it the other way, struggles, because struggles will come. That's guaranteed. Life will knock you down, sometimes harder than you ever thought you could get hit. And when you're lying there on the floor of your problems, you'll realize how important it is to have someone who can reach out a hand and say, come on, get up. You're not done yet. You can't always be your own cheerleader. You can't always pick yourself up. Sometimes you need that voice that speaks into you when your own voice is shaky. We all need somebody because isolation breeds weakness. When you're by yourself too long, your perspective gets cloudy. You start believing lies about yourself, thinking you're not worthy, not capable, not loved. But one good friend can silence all those lies with just a simple, man, I got you. That's the power of connection. One person showing up for you can make the weight of the world feel lighter. But here's the thing. It's not just about what you get from people. It's about what you give. Because when you're there for someone else, when you encourage them, when you sit with them in their dark moments, you're reminding yourself that you matter too. We all need somebody, but we also need to be somebody. We all have that role to play in someone else's story. So don't buy into the myth that being tough means being alone. Don't let pride trick you into thinking you don't need anyone. Because life is richer, sweeter, and stronger when it's shared. And at the end of the day, the truth is simple. We all need somebody, and somebody needs us too. Let me tell you something. There's a big difference between fake friends and real friends. And if you don't learn how to spot the difference, life will teach you the hard way. Fake friends are like shadows. They're around when the sun's shining, but the minute darkness shows up, they disappear. Real friends, though, they're like stars. You may not always see them, but when the night gets the darkest, they show up and remind you you're not alone. That's the kind of difference we're talking about. Fake friends will clap for you when you're winning, but deep down, they're hoping you trip. They'll laugh with you at the party, but the moment the lights go out and the crowd clears, they're nowhere to be found. They want the benefits of your company, but not the responsibility of your friendship. A fake friend will call you when they need something, but you'll notice they never pick up when it's your turn to ask. They're all about convenience, not commitment. They'll ride with you in the car, but the minute the gas tank hits empty, they're bailing out, leaving you stranded on the side of the road. Now, real friends, that's a whole different story. Real friends stick. They're not perfect, but they're present. They'll tell you the truth even when you don't want to hear it. They'll call you out when you're wrong, but they'll also defend you when the world tries to take you down. Real friends don't just show up for the highlight reel. They walk with you through the behind, the scenes, the messy stuff, the days when you don't feel like yourself. A real friend doesn't keep score, doesn't count favors, and doesn't dip out when things get uncomfortable. They're there when you're broke, when you're lost, when you're brokenhearted. And they don't need a reason other than, that's my friend. They'll see, fake friends drain you, but real friends fill you up. Fake friends leave you second guessing yourself, wondering what they really mean. Real friends give you peace because you know where they stand. Fake friends will cheer for you in public and gossip about you in private. Real friends will correct you in private and cheer for you in public. That's the test right there. The danger is sometimes we hold on fake friends out of fear of being alone. We think it's better to have somebody, even the wrong somebody, than to have nobody at all. But let me tell you, walking alone is better than walking with people who don't really care about you, because fake friends can do more damage than loneliness ever could. So here's the lesson. Know the difference. Pay attention to actions, not just words. Watch who shows up when you've got nothing to give. Those are your real friends. Don't waste your energy chasing people who only want your sunshine. Invest in the ones who can handle your storms, because when it comes down to it, fake friends are many, but real friends are rare, and those are the ones worth holding on to. A man without friends is like a house with no doors or windows, wide open for anything to come in and break it down. When you don't have people around you, you're vulnerable in ways you can't even see. Life has a way of throwing blows, and when you're standing by yourself, those blows land harder. The truth is, when the enemy of your soul wants to take you out, the first thing he tries to do is isolate you. Because if you're standing alone, you're easier to attack, easier to discourage, easier to break. Think about it, predators in the wild don't go after the herd. They go after the one that strays off by itself. Why? Because alone it's weaker, slower, and unprotected. That's the same way life works. A man with no friends is an easy target because there's nobody around to watch his blind spots. We all have them, areas where we can't see danger coming. Maybe it's in the choices we make. Maybe it's in the people we trust. Maybe it's in the habits we hide. Without a friend to step in and say, hey, I see something you don't, you leave yourself wide open to destruction. And let's be real, loneliness makes you desperate. When you don't have real friends, you start reaching for anybody, even if they're not good for you. That's how people fall into bad company, toxic relationships, and destructive patterns. Desperation makes you lower your standards because you just want somebody around. And the wrong people know when you're lonely. They can smell it. They use you, manipulate you, take what they want, and disappear, leaving you more broken than before. That's why being a man with no friends isn't just sad, it's dangerous. But there's another layer to this. Without friends, there's no accountability. Nobody to check you when you're slipping. Nobody to call you out when your pride gets too big. Nobody to remind you of who you really are when you forget. A man left to himself can convince his mind of anything. He can justify bad decisions, drown in his own doubts, and let his worst thoughts become his reality. But a real friend won't let you spiral without stepping in. That's the kind of protection you miss when you don't have anybody. Even in success, being friendless makes you a target. People see a man standing alone and they assume he has no backup. That makes it easier for them to take advantage, to undercut him, to attack him, because they know nobody's coming to defend him. You don't just need friends for comfort, you need them for protection. So understand this, a man without friends is exposed. He's walking through life without a shield, without a covering, without somebody to stand beside him when the fight gets real. You weren't built to battle life alone. If you're trying to do it all by yourself, Sooner or later, life will show you just how vulnerable that really is. Friendship is one of those treasures that can't be measured by how many people you've got standing around you, but by how deep those connections run. Too many folks today think having a crowd means having friends. They count likes on social media, they count followers, they count numbers at their parties, and they convince themselves they're surrounded by love. But let me tell you, just because you're in the middle of a crowd doesn't mean you're not alone. Friendship is not about how many people know your name. It's about who knows your soul. You see, real friendship is rare. It's not something you stumble on every other day. It's like finding a diamond. You've got to dig deep. And when you find it, you hold on to it. A true friend is worth more than 100 acquaintances. You don't need an audience to validate you. You need one or two people who see the real you and still choose to stick around. That's why friendship is a gift. It's not something you can buy. It's not something you can demand. And it's not something you should take for granted. It's given freely, and when it's real, it's priceless. Crowds can cheer for you, but they don't care about you. They're around for the entertainment, the moment, the show. But when the music stops, when the lights go out, when you're left with the rawness of life, most of that crowd will scatter. That's when you realize numbers don't equal loyalty. Friendship isn't about having people fill your space. It's about having someone fill your life with truth, support, and love that doesn't fade when things get hard. And here's the tricky part. Sometimes we chase crowds because we're afraid of being left with nothing. We think the more people we collect, the safer we'll feel. But the truth is, crowds can make you lonelier than solitude ever could. You can be standing shoulder to shoulder with dozens of people and still feel invisible. But one real friend who knows your struggles, who listens when you talk, who prays for you when you're weak, that's enough to carry you further than a whole stadium of shallow company. When you start seeing friendship as a gift, you handle it differently. You don't abuse it, you don't neglect it, and you don't take it for granted. You nurture it, you protect it, you value it. Because you understand it's not about quantity, it's about quality. Life is too short to chase after crowds that don't care about you, and too precious to ignore the one or two friends who truly do. So don't measure your life by how many people show up for the fun parts. Measure it by who sticks around for the hard parts. Don't be fooled into thinking popularity equals friendship. Friendship is not about being surrounded, it's about being supported. And when you've got even one real friend, you've already been given a gift more valuable than a crowd could ever offer. Everybody wants good friends, but not everybody wants to be a good friend. We sit around wishing for someone who's loyal, someone who's honest, someone who will show up for us when times get hard. But the truth is, the kind of friend you're praying for might be waiting on you to become that very thing. Sometimes the answer to loneliness isn't looking harder, it's being better. Be the friend you wish you had. Think about it. If you want somebody who listens, then you've got to learn how to listen. If you want someone who sticks with you when you're down, then you've got to be the type who sticks with others when they're struggling. If you want trust, you've got to give trust. Friendship is a mirror. You attract what you reflect. Too many people sit back saying, nobody cares about me, but they haven't shown genuine care for anyone else. Relationships don't grow on wishes. They grow on effort. Being the friend you wish you had means being dependable, not just when it's easy, but when it's inconvenient. Anybody can show up for the celebration, but can you show up for the crisis? Can you pick up the phone at 2 a.m.? Can you check on someone without waiting for them to ask? Those are the marks of real friendship, and when you live that out, you naturally draw people who value the same thing. It also means being honest. A real friend doesn't just tell you what you want to hear, they tell you what you need to hear. If you see someone drifting into bad choices, you don't sit quiet to keep the peace. You speak up because you care too much to watch them self-destruct. Honesty with love is rare, and if you practice it, people will trust you more than the ones who just flatter. But here's the part a lot of people miss. Being the friend you wish you had doesn't mean being perfect. It means being consistent. It means showing effort, showing kindness, showing patience. Nobody is asking you to have it all together, but people do need to know that when they let you into their life, you're not going to vanish the moment things get messy. That's what separates surface level acquaintances from lifelong friends. And here's the payoff. When you become the kind of friend you've been searching for, you'll find that friendship has a way of finding you back. The seeds you plant in others grow into the relationships you reap. If you want loyalty, sow loyalty. If you want encouragement, sow encouragement. If you want someone who makes you feel valued, start making others feel valued. Friendship isn't about what you can get, it's about what you can give. So instead of waiting around, wishing for the perfect people to come into your life. Start being that person yourself. Because the truth is, the world doesn't just need more friends. It needs more people willing to be one.